Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Um, all right. Hi everyone. I'm the team lead for topic 15, which is investigating the Youth Social Media Protection Act. My name is Young Lee, and could the rest of our group members introduce themselves?
My name is Sahana Kulashekharan.
My name is Shane Han. My name is Evan Zinn.
So, just a quick little introduction and some context. The goal of this act is to prohibit or restrict social media accounts for children under age 14 while promoting parental involvement, online safety, and youth mental health protections, and that social media platforms should self regulate on this restriction. So, social media has become more prevalent in recent years, and nationwide, 40% of those aged 8 to 12 have reported to be active on social media platforms. These social media platforms include X, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and so many more. There have been attempts to reduce its usage in younger audiences due to its risks, but despite their efforts, 38% of those nationwide aged 8 to 12 are still reported to use social media platforms.
So social media has had a large impact on Maryland. Um, for this, the Cyberbullying Research Center surveyed some Maryland middle school and high school students, and 57.7% were found to have experienced cyberbullying at least once in the 2023 survey, and in the earlier 2019 survey, 27.7% reported receiving a sext. Um, Also, social media is found to facilitate drug exposure. Platforms such as Snapchat enable drug dealers to more easily contact youth, and these social media platforms also normalize substance abuse by using things such as cool language, which increases early exposure and the risk of later addiction. Overall, social media has significant mental health effects. 46% of Marylanders aged 13 through 17 report a worse body image and worse self-esteem, and it is found that 3 or more hours of social media usage per day can double the risk of depression and anxiety. So there have been a lot of previous bills which are within the realm of banning social media. The most prevalent one and the most recent one is Australia's Online Safety Amendment, which was a ban on social media for everyone in Australia aged under 16. So this included platforms such as TikTok, Snapchat, um, and X. And also, the USA has also implemented lots of federal regulations. For example, the 1998 Children's Online Privacy Protection Act um, was is an act designed to keep social media companies from collecting data unless there is explicit parental consent. And also, the Kids Online Safety and Privacy Act is a recently proposed bill that is designed to limit social media companies from, again, collecting online data for adolescents. And in Maryland, there has been one of the laws passed is 2019 and is in 2019, House Bill 181, also known as Grace's Law 2.0, which is technically a social media ban for people who are intending to use online devices as a means to cyberbully or to cause others to try and commit suicide.
So there's lots of barriers to actually enforcing a social media ban that we need to get over if we want to have an effective social media regulation. So enforceability is a big part. In Australia, there was a lot of ID falsification. They had makeup for face scans, the used VPNs, and there's also a lack of platforms which actually enforce the law. For example, Discord didn't enforce the law, and therefore many people could still access social media through the social media platforms that just simply didn't enforce it. And there's also a lot of privacy concerns. For example, some may argue that it may infringe on the First Amendment because of the fact that this is restricting the ability for these populations to speak. While on the other hand, they might also argue that it can infringe on someone's access to information. So these are a lot of challenges that we need to get over and address if you want to have an effective social media ban.
Okay, so the another challenge is like Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act. So a little bit fun fact, I actually interviewed many social media advocates, including the author of Grace's, including the person behind Grace's Law. And one thing they say, and another really big barrier is Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act. And what happens is like, and the original intent of this section is that publishers or platforms have immunity from the content or speech created by the users. So, for example, say the user creates something defamatory or something prerogative, the platform itself is immune from any liability. However, like recently, social media platforms have actually used Section 230 to actually block any attempts to on regulate social media platforms and lawsuits brought by the states. For example, in this news clipping here, the federal courts blocked Arkansas social media restrictions in 2025. And our recommendations are to create is one, create social media literacy programs. A lot of these issues could actually be solved. A lot of these issues, such as sextortion, cyberbullying, could actually be like solved for if the children themselves are informed of the many issues regarding social media. And if these children are aware of these issues, they become like more safer and responsible digital citizens. Secondly, we can treat social media companies as commercial products. And one way to do that is by establishing a duty of care. A duty of care is basically like, say, for example, a harm is happening on these social media platforms. If the platforms themselves are not taking reasonable measures to reduce that harm, they're found negligence, meaning they face penalties, right? So this one establishes guardrails to regulate features, and second, it doesn't actually infringe on First Amendment concerns because because the social media platforms themselves are regulating themselves, not the government.
Here are references and any questions?
Thank you, team, for this presentation. So you can see this is a huge topic and a pretty hard topic, right? Not only in the United States, but all over the world. How do we make sure our kids are not harmed by the social media issue? Have you had some discussion about age limit, like 14, 16, or 18? Have that discussion?
Yeah.
What do you feel about, like, in terms which age is more appropriate for that if there's a ban social media account? Yeah, go ahead.
For me, my team members might have different answers, but for me, I'm guessing like age 16 or like age like 13 or below.
Mhm.
I think 14 and under is an appropriate age because I feel like that's like right before you enter high school. And I think it's like you can limit those kids because they're a lot younger. But when you get to high school, like it kind of becomes like a FOMO thing and you want to be on social media.
Okay, we got a FOMO issue now. You're right, right? So we don't want to create a situation like the scarcity of have a social media account becomes something they can show off, right? And that will actually create more attractiveness to kids who are using. So I was thinking about the First Amendment argument here as well. So, we had a lot of conversation with the community advocacy groups on this issue. We talk about the First Amendment, and then I was thinking about, I think you raised a great question. This maybe it's a product, it's not free speech. For example, for guns, right? They're protected by the Constitution, but there's still a lot of limits. We're not allowing kids to buy guns, for example, right? The same for social media accounts. If we treat a different way, maybe we can think about there may be different solutions. So thank you very much for doing this very important research.